Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to yet another video on examining the arguments for dual revelation. For those of you who did not watch my previous video, then this is a claim made by some Muslims that the Prophet Muhammad did not only receive the Quran, but that he also received the Sunnah, which is encapsulated in the Hadith literature. The Sunnah refers to the actions and deeds ascribed to the Prophet Muhammad. In today's video, we are going to be looking at the argument which suggests that the Hikmah mentioned in the Quran is a reference to the Sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad, whereas the Kitab is a reference to the Quran itself. This is truly a surprising argument to be put forward, in my opinion, as it undermines the Quran in so many ways. First of all, it suggests that the Quran does not contain wisdom in it, or that wisdom is outside or separate from the Quran. But what is even the more surprising about this claim is that the Quran has called itself al-Hakeem, which means the wise, or Quran al-Hakeem. In fact, Allah swears by this. So how can it be a wise book? How can it be a wise reciter? How can it be a wise Quran if the book does not contain wisdom in it? If anything, wisdom should be expected as being within the Quran, since it has called itself al-Hakeem. Aside from this, the Quran also states that within it are verses that are Hikmah, i.e. wisdom. This is clearly apparent in verse 39 of surat al-Isra, which states, ذَلِكَ مِمَّا أَوْحَى إِلَيْكَ رَبُّكَ مِنَ الْحِكْمَةِ. That is from what your Lord has inspired unto you, O Muhammad, of the Hikmah, i.e. of the wisdom. Now, this verse, or this statement of the verse, comes after a long series of injunctions started from verse number 23, which establish the theological as well as the behavior aspects of the deen. In these verses, we are informed not to serve other gods aside from the one God, and also to be dutifully excellent with our parents. So much so that when one of them attains old age, or when one of them reaches old age, we are not to say a word of discontent to them, i.e. the word oof to them, or to repel them, but that we are instructed to speak to them or to say to them a word that is generous and honorable. We are also asked to seek God's mercy for them because they took care of us when we were little. We are also commanded to give our near relatives their due rights, as well as to the poor and also the needy, and also those who are traveling, the wayfarer, and not to be wasteful, to be moderate in our spending, not to give too much that we are forced to file for bankruptcy, and also not to refrain from giving at all, but to choose a way that is moderate, a way that is between these. So not to give too much that you fall into bankruptcy, and also not to refrain from giving anything at all, but rather to choose a way that is between those two. Anyway, I am not going to be listing all the different instructions in this video, but if anyone wants to find out more about what these verses say, then please go and read those verses for yourself, because it will give you a better understanding of what the Quran means when it uses the word Hikmah, and you will also be able to apply that wisdom all over the Quran. Anyway, at the end of these verses, that's when Allah makes this statement, ذَلِكَ مِمَّا أَوْحَى إِلَيْكَ رَبُّكَ مِنَ الْحِكْمَةِ. That is of that which your Lord has inspired unto you, O Muhammad, of the wisdom. So the verses mentioned before this statement are regarded as Hikmah, i.e. wisdom. And when we examine the Quran, we can see similar behavior verses that have to do with how to conduct oneself and also how to treat other people. This is the wisdom that the Quran teaches. So it is very strange that someone would suggest that wisdom has to be taught outside of the Quran, or that wisdom exists outside of the Quran. When the Quran says treat your parents kindly. Do not say oof to them. There is no need for someone to first embody what that means before you actually understand it. Or when the Quran says, do not walk in the land exultantly, or do not walk in the land with arrogance. You don't need to know how the Prophet walked in order for you to understand what that means. Or when the Quran says, do not kill your children for the fear of poverty. You do not need to know how the Prophet implemented that before you actually understand what it means. The entire Quran is full of wisdom and also self-explanatory. It cannot contradict that which is reasonable, and its ability to complement so well the reality of living is what makes it stand out as a book full of wisdom. It is thus clear that within the Quran itself is the hikmah, as this is one aspect of the Quran. The Quran contains many aspects to it, such as the fact that it is manifested in an Arabic tongue. The Quran says, lisanun arabiyyin mubin, that it is in an Arabic tongue that is manifested. It is also called Kitabun Majid. It is a book that is Majid, that is with nobility. It is a noble book, a noble prescription, considering that it contains within it nobility. It is also called Kitaban Mastura. It is an inscribed or written book, because it was inscribed and written during the time of the Prophet. Forget what people say that it was passed down orally, not according to it. According to it, the Quran was already written down during the time of the Prophet upon parchment that was well preserved and well guarded. That's why the Quran also calls itself Kitabun Maknoon. It is a book that is well protected. In other words, because it is written on parchment, which is able to survive throughout the years, which is able to withstand a lot of environmental issues that other material cannot survive. It is also called Kitabun Aziz, that is an authoritative book, or a mighty authoritative book, a book that contains authority within it. And that is because it grants authority. It speaks with might. It speaks with authority. That's what makes it Kitabun Aziz. It is also called Kitabun Mubarak. It is a book of blessings. It's a book that is filled with blessings. Those who read it receive a lot of good from it. That's why it is Kitabun Mubarak, because it can make someone good. It can make someone even better than they are. Remember, Baraka is ziyadatun fil khair. It is increase in good. So when someone is good and they come to the Quran, their goodness will be increased even more. That's why it is Kitabun Mubarak. It is a blessed book. It is called Kitabul Kareem. It is a book that is honorable. It is a book that contains honor within it. It is a book that brings honor to the one who reads it. So these are among the different names that Allah has given, or different adjectives that Allah has used to describe the Quran. Are we then going to say that all these adjectives don't have anything to do with the Quran, or that they require an outside different source in order to understand what they mean? Of course not. Then why would we assume that wisdom is separate from the Quran, taking into account that the Quran has called itself hakeem, or that it has stated that it contains within it verses that are hikmah? Anyway, thank you very much again for watching today's video. I hope to see you again in the next video. Do remember to please subscribe to the channel and also like and share this video. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.